Hello, everyone. Thank you for dropping by. It's a really amazing crowd, and I'm so happy to be here right now. So this is a session on automating your WhatsApp chats. And just like any other session, before beginning, disclaimer, the contents of the talk are meant for educational purposes. Use them for ethical reasons only, and they do not represent any views by my employer. So, having done that, I'm Aditi Bhatnagar. I am a researcher interested in security, privacy, and everything in between. When I say everything in between, it is essentially, I'm referring to technosociology. So one of my interests is understanding how tech impacts human life and what all has changed, whether it's in privacy aspect or the way we organize, identify ourselves, and things like that. I geek out at Infinite Hacks, which is my website where I put up most of the things, including this hack, when I do and get the time to. I'm currently associated with Atlassian. I'm working as a platform security engineer there. And previously, I was working on Microsoft Defender in Microsoft. Okay, so let's get started. Automating your WhatsApp chats. And somehow, whenever I tell my friends that, hey, I am doing this hack, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm automating my WhatsApp chats. They'll give me this opinion, this expression. They're like, why would you do that? Like, what's wrong with you? You know, we trust that when we are interacting with you, it's like a human responding and not a bot. So why would you like to do that? And I do have my own story and reasons on why I wanted to do this. But before that, since all of you are here, I'm assuming there is some interest in automating the chats. So if there is anyone in the audience who can tell me, why would you want to learn this thing? Yeah. Sorry?
Saves time.
Saves time. Yeah. It depends on how much you chat, but yeah, sure.
And I don't reply to my dad on time. I get scolded. So...
Yeah, that is, you're like fulfilling your responsibilities well, yeah? Not letting anyone be, like, not hanging on anyone, just responding back in time. Makes sense. Anything else? Yeah.
Maybe it will reduce the breakups.
Oh, maybe I think it will cause the breakups. Like once they know that you have been automating the chats, it might cause. But yeah, it might also reduce if you know, you are busy and you're not able to get back to the person on time and you want to do that, not to hurt their feelings and respect their time. So yeah, why not? I had my own story, and it's like all of us were friends, passed out of college, and we were connected on WhatsApp. And all friend circles have their own quirks, right? Cultures and stuff like that. And mine had the thing that when we want to get immediate attention of a person, so something really happening has happened in my life, and I want my friends to immediately like get back to me, I'll just keep on sending pings. And this was the thing we just do, like, hi, hey, listen. Like just like a stream of text so that they just get a lot of notifications. And so they just get back to me. Yeah, it's very irritating, but it worked for my friends, so yeah. And as expected, it so happened, and one day I got in a competition with my friend. So she was texting, I was texting, and we were like, who can disturb the other person more, right? And while doing that, while typing the text, I was like, why not I just automate it? Like, there should be a way to automate it, right? So my only desire to do this was like automating that and win the competition and solve the purpose forever. Like have an attention grabber script. So anytime I want their attention, I like just and another set of text, and they immediately get back to me. So that was just that innocent, you know, winning the competition thing. And that got me started into how can I possibly do that? So there's a problem at hand now. I want to automate my chats. How can I do that? And there are different ways. If you understand WhatsApp has like a web.whatsapp.com, which is a website version. So my first hunch was like, let me go to the website, see the JavaScript content, have some script, and, you know, click the button, send message, and do things like that. I did something similar with my Facebook Messenger back in college. It was, I think, 2014 around. I think I do have a thing for automating chat somehow, so every platform that I get, I try to automate it. So on Facebook, I did it using JavaScript. And that time, it was very easy because they had a fixed ID for button and text box. So you just like enter text box and you click button and then it just sends a message. So I tried doing something similar with web.whatsapp, but somehow I was not happy. There were some issues I do not recall now. But the issue was that I use WhatsApp on Android, right? So I want it to be handy on my Android. Like I want something that works on my mobile and I can just send it. I do not want to open a website and then run a JavaScript, and it just like kills the whole spirit of doing it. So I started looking at how can I do this thing on Android. So if you think about doing a thing like automating your chats on Android, the thing is what all kind of powers would you need, right? Because you want to make sure that the platform provides you those powers. So if I want to send an automated chat, I would like my bot or service to do these three things at least, right? Read the screen, because they don't have eyes, they're not seeing what you're seeing. So I want the service or the bot to read the screen, to type a message in the chat box wherever I can find, and to press the button, right? So these are the three things that I'm looking from the platform to provide me in order to do this hack. And while thinking about it, I came across TalkBack. How many of you know about TalkBack? Yeah, so TalkBack, for those who do not know, is an accessibility-based app. So usually, whenever you create technology, you want to make sure that it's accessible to as many people as possible, right? So even people with special needs, people who have problems, reading from the screen, you want to create services to help them use mobile phones. So TalkBack is one of the apps by Google. What it does is that it reads content on the screen to people who are blind or who have difficulty reading from the screen, right? And when I came across it, and it can read anything from the screen. So it's not like it's just reading some notepad or some Google Doc. It can read literally everything that is coming on your screen. And I thought that is super powerful because this app is essentially having the capability to read, which I also need in order to automate my WhatsApp chats. So I started looking at how this is built. And yeah, so it provides spoken feedback. We talked about it. And when I learned about how TalkBack is built, I came across the concept of accessibility services in Android, right? So accessibility service in Android, it assists users with disabilities in using Android devices and apps. It is a long-running privileged service that helps user process information on the screen and lets them to interact meaningfully with the device. And there is an industrial angle to it as well. So if you're working for companies like, Microsoft, Google, or big companies or startups who are like scaling across billions of people, they make sure that their apps are accessible. So everyone is able to use them, right? So it comes as every app, most of the app, you can say on Google Play Store are compatible with accessibility service. And what does that mean? We'll just touch upon it in a while. So this looked like some possible solution. Accessibility service lets me read things from a screen. So I need two other things, right? I need to type message and I need to press a button. So then I got curious and started looking at if accessibility service can let me perform actions from user behalf as well. And Android has a fabulous developer document. They just write everything very nicely. So I took use of that and I came across this exact paragraph, which is take action for users. I was awesome. This definitely sounds like a solution. Now I can read things and I can take actions on behalf of user. So I started reading the documentation. I'll explain what it takes to create an accessibility service and how you can do that. But before that, just a minute pause and any questions or any concerns that I need to address, or everything is clear? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is for Android. It will be different. I didn't have iOS, so I didn't have that need, so I did not figure it out. There is one hack in my mind which I can share on iOS later on, but I'm not sure how well it will work. So this is for Android, right? Okay, so creating your own accessibility service. How many of you have experience in building any Android app? Okay. We have some people. So I will explain what it takes to build an Android app, and that might help you in building one very soon because it's very easy, it's very handy. It's not rocket science at all. So what you do, like any Java class, there is this thing, accessibility service. So you define a class, you define a service, because accessibility service is a background service, right? So whatever your bot or service is, it will be running in the background. It is not something which will be actively on the screen. It is something which is sitting back in the background and listening to whatever is happening on the UI, right? Read that stuff and then take actions. So you extend this accessibility service interface and start implementing the classes. So the first step is create an accessibility service class. Another thing that you do is defining it in Android manifest. So Android manifest.xml is the really magical, one-stop file that you should definitely look at if you want to learn about Android or reverse engineer it or whatever, because it is like a file which defines all activities and all services which are there in the app, and it also defines all the permissions that the app has. So whenever you create an activity or you create a service, you declare it in Android manifest in order to for it to be recognized and implemented. So you define it in the Android manifest. And the third and the last step is that you add a configuration to it. So whenever you define an accessibility service, you define an XML and link it to the service. And why is that XML needed? That XML will have information like what all kind of apps it should look at. So just imagine you're blindly sitting, you're the service or the bot, and you're blindly sitting, you do not see the UI. So you need to tell operating system which apps should I be looking at? Like which app should I be getting the traffic from or the UI from? So you can define like which packages you'll be listening to. So for example, Android package name, you define the exact package. Event types, flags, feedback type, what kind of feedback will it be? Like after reading, do I give a vocal, audible feedback, or what kind of feedback is it exactly? Notification timeout, how frequently do I get events from UI? What kind of events do I subscribe to, right? So when you're subscribing to events from UI, a lot of things can happen. A new window appeared, or the content is the same window changed, right? So you get events for all of that, and you get a choice to mention in the XML file that these are the kind of events that I would like to subscribe to. And that's it, pretty much. So these are the only 3 steps you need in order to create an accessibility service. And having read that, I thought it'll be a good idea to start implementing it. And this is like a fine Sunday afternoon. It did not take more than that. And I'm sure if you play around with it, you will kind of have the same feeling that they have made it really very well documented, and you can actually, play around and do your own thing because it's very well documented. So let's look at the code. Okay. I need to refresh this. These are not errors, I swear. But the first step was defining a background service. So I defined this chat accessibility service. The font is really bad looking, so I'm not sure if people at the back are able to see it, but I'll narrate it as well as I can. So there are 2 main things. One is the activity, one is the background service. Activity does nothing but inflate a UI. So every app has a UI, and the main activity is the starting point for an Android app. So you define things like inflate a UI, create a button, and add this edit text, just like you define any other UI. So the main activity is just creating that UI, and chat accessibility service. This one is extending the accessibility service, essentially, right? So it has implemented methods of accessibility service like on accessibility event. So whenever there is a background service, usually you define things like on interrupt, on stop. What happens if my service crashes in between? How do you handle those exceptions? I have not written this as a production level code, so I have not covered all the exceptions, but I have just made it work. So it defines on accessibility events. It defines that what happens if there is an event that I have received from the UI, how do I process it? And basically, how do I get information? Like, how do I get the name, or how do I get the text box ID and things like that? And the other one that we talked about was accessibility service config. So if you have a look at it, it's listening to package names com.whatsapp. So my service just listens to WhatsApp because I only have things to do with WhatsApp. But if you want to listen to some other app, you can easily add another package name. So if you want to read information from Chrome, you can add com.android.chrome and you can read information from that. So you just extend the package names. Accessibility event types I have written as window state changed and window content changed, which essentially means that if there's a new window popping up, I'll get an event, right? So I get to read which package it's coming from, what are the contents of the window, basically. Yeah, I can try to, but I'm not sure how well it works. Oh, it does. Does it look good? Okay. Yeah, so it's package names and it's accessibility events here, and then accessibility flags, which kind of is a way to mention what kind of information you should get from the node. You're familiar with HTML DOMs, right? Most of us are familiar with like HTML DOM kind of structure. You can make an analogy with that. So usually what happens is the whole UI, there's a kind of tree and kind of reference IDs, and the whole node is passed to the backend service. So basically your problem statement now becomes just parsing that node and figuring out the portions of interest, right? So similar to the things that you can do with Facebook chats in JavaScript, right? You figure out the IDs, where do you enter the text, and you click. The same kind of things I'm trying to make happen here. So accessibility service essentially gives you a full node-like tree to the backend service. And this is the XML. And the third part was like mentioning it in manifest. So this is the manifest file that you have. And it just has like 2 things. One is the main service, the launcher service. It does nothing but inflate the UI. And the other one is the chat's accessibility service, which is the main accessibility service having all the processing logic. So that is how the structure looks like. 3 things. Moving on, what is the logic? So what is it that I'm trying to do here? This is how your WhatsApp chat screen looks like on Android, right? I'm sure it's on iOS too, similar. There are 3 things of my interest here, right? So what the app does is you mention the name of a person. So any person, you just mention that, this is the person I want to automate my chat on. So the app has the UI for you to set the name of the person. So name of the person is a portion of interest, the first one. Then I have this edit text. This is the one where I need to enter the text. And the third thing of interest is the send button, right? So what the app is trying to do is whenever the WhatsApp screen opens, it tries to match the name of the person. Is it the same as the one that you have entered in your app? And if it is, then it gets this edit text from the node tree. It gets this edit text. It enters text in there. It gets this button, and then it clicks it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's as simple as that. It's just doing these 3 things, essentially. And that is what I coded in the app as well. So if you look at the chat's accessibility service, on accessibility event, so whenever this screen will open up, the WhatsApp screen will open up, I'll get an event. My background service will get an event. And I try to see, there are some basic null checks. I try to get the name, right? So Aditi Bhatnagar was the name, and Aditi Bhatnagar is the name of the person I want to send my automated chats to. So I get the name. And how this is getting the name is that these are the IDs, essentially. So all the UI elements, everything which is on your UI has an ID. And you can get that ID by using a tool called UI Automator tool, which comes along with Android SDK package. So this is a UI Automator tool, and in case of HTML, you just pretty much inspect element and see things. In case of Android, you connect make it debuggable, have your device, and launch this application from the SDK tool. So this is the path. You can find it in tools bin. You launch it and you capture. So when you click on capture, it captures the current state of the device, the current screen. And then for every element, basically, there would be an ID. So it has like this resource ID thing. If you click on this, it'll have a different resource ID. The buttons, everything apart from the keyboard, every other thing on the app's screen has an ID. So what I'm trying to do is figure out what are these IDs for WhatsApp and get those elements and then perform actions on them. Right? So here, these are the IDs. I got these using the UI Automator tool. And then I'm just trying to get name and find the text box and type stuff. So basically, I created this array of strings that is hard-coded. You can add ML, make it more intelligent, add the capability of reading a text and then replying it accordingly. But for this purpose, it's like fixed set of chats that, hey, what's up? I'm at Nullcon right now. Hope you're doing well, blah, blah, right? So that is a fixed set of messages that I have. So what I do is I pick one of the message, I enter it in the text view, edit text. So you find the text box and type stuff, right? So I create the message here, and it is as simple as that. It's text box perform action. So accessibility provides you all these sort of actions. So you have action set text, which I use in order to populate text. In the edit text, you have action click, which I use to click the send button in order to send the message. So I perform this action, like entering the text, and then I perform the third action, which is basically click. So find the send button. Again, I have the ID, so I found the send button and I performed the click action. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole code. It's not a big code. It's just like, if you optimize it, it'll be, I think, 60 around lines of code. But that's pretty much it. So let's build it and see if it works. Okay, so I have my Android phone connected here. I'm using Wiser, which will show you on a screen what it is. Yeah. So this is my Android phone. Let me build this app and run this app. Okay, so the app is up here. A very basic UI, automated WhatsApp chats, and WhatsApp name. Now what you need to know is this requires accessibility service, right? Oops. Okay. So this requires accessibility service. So what I do first is go to my settings, right? And I'll go and give accessibility permission to this. So you go to system accessibility. When you go to the screen, you can see all the apps which are requiring accessibility. After this talk, do this on your mobile phone if you're using Android. See what all apps are using accessibility service, and do check if you actually use those apps or not, because it is very powerful, as we'll see. So there's automate chats WhatsApp. So I click on that, and I give permission. I turn this on. So it gives a dialog on saying that, this app will have full access to your view, and it can perform actions on your behalf, and you agree with all of that. So you give the permission. Now here, I'll say Aditi Bhatnagar, which is myself. Do these hacks on yourself, and then you set it. So it says name is set, go to WhatsApp. So I'll go to WhatsApp. And now, nothing is happening right now, but as soon as I click here, okay, so the demo gods kick in, and it does not work. Give me a minute. Ow, okay. So we make sure that the chat is there, and then you have set this thing up. Sorry? Yeah, I'm hoping, yeah, I think that's a valid point actually. Yeah. Let me stop that and see. So I set it up, and let's see if this works. Oh yeah, it does not. What happened? Okay, so I'll try it out one last time, otherwise I'll just show a video as we do. If you have any questions meanwhile, let me know and I can answer. Uninstall.
Hi Aditi. Could we have also done this using WhatsApp web and capturing the requests that go over the web and maybe playing? Could we have also done this using WhatsApp web and maybe capturing the request that goes out of a browser and then repeating it using a logic that would on? Probably that way is I would also be able to integrate an AI engine which talks on my behalf and I don't have to do anything. Would that be also a possible scenario?
Yeah, so you are thinking of like capturing and replaying the request?
Absolutely.
I think that is an amazing idea. We can do that. I am just a bit skeptical about the encryption thing, how you'll actually enter the message and send it.
I think on the web, that's why I categorically said web.whatsapp, because there you can take care of those things, because it's ultimately a browser which is sending those requests.
Yeah.
So when you inject your SSL certificate, you'd be able to get the request in plain text and then you can play around with it.
Yes, I'm just not sure if web.whatsapp has any protection in order to avoid that to happen or not, but that is definitely something we can try. I mean,
you cannot avoid that. It's just unavoidable. I mean, that's how the world works.
Try it and then share it with me.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that I do have confidence that approach can work, but I've not tested it, so I won't say that it works.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if this works now. Accessibility service. Right. We turn it on. I give it the permission. And then you come here and then you basically type this. Okay. Done. Set. And then I go to WhatsApp. And it works. Yay. So I'm not typing all of this stuff. It's getting automated. It is basically the array of chats that we had. So I'm at Nullcon, hope you're doing well, and blah, blah. So it keeps sending. And if you take this screen off, like if you go back, it'll stop sending the messages. And then you can go ahead and, set someone else's name. You can also automate this stuff. So in Android, you can open activities and do things. I have not gone ahead and do all of that because my purpose was pretty much accomplished by doing this. But yeah, so that is how it works. Okay. And then here I have just made it I have had pauses here, but you can also have a script which just keeps on sending message. WhatsApp doesn't block you, so you can just send messages. Yeah. That's a great question, actually. So it works. So the one that is on my mobile is Android 12, and it works for that. Accessibility service is supported by Android OS itself, right? So it is a feature. It's not a bug. So I'm just using the feature for the purpose it's not meant for, essentially, but I'm doing it for myself. That's fine. So it's, yeah. But Android 13 is definitely making some, because it's as we'll see in a while, it is actually very potentially, very big and, scale, like every bank Trojan, everything is using it. So it is something that Android is fighting against and building protection against, but they are trying to balance it off with the utility that it provides. So Android 13 will have some changes, but till Android 12, it's working like a charm. Yeah, it will. So reference ID does not change usually, but if it does, then you open the UI Automator tool, again, get the new IDs, and you just replace the IDs and it'll work. Yeah. Okay, so it worked, and you can use to automate this literally anything on Android. It's not just WhatsApp. As we saw, we just need like reference IDs and capture the UI and take actions. So pretty much you can do anything, automate Instagram, automate Gmail, automate whatever you want, because you're acting like a user. There's no sandboxing, nothing at place here. Yeah.
Have you tried using some NLP engines over here to make it more contextual in nature? I mean, rather than just sending blank messages, the messages could be contextualized to the fact that, I mean, let's say if I send you hi, you send me a hi back.
Yeah.
Right. So have you tried doing that as well?
I did not try this because usually what works, so you can add context, but I know my friends, I know how I speak. So I'm like, acha, okay, yeah. See that. Hey, did you see this music video? Hey, did I was here and blah, blah. So my purpose was solved here, but you can actually try and plug in, NLPs. There are ML models. There are free libraries as well, which you can use and integrate and make it more, useful for you. But yeah, I'm not doing that. So.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. So this is how I felt. I was super happy, and I was like really disturbing all of my close friends who won't disown me, I know. But they did something like this. They blocked me. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so I'm having all the fun in the world, but they probably are not enjoying it so much. And that is what we know, right? Like technical success is not equals to human success. Humans need like their own set of things. And so it includes repercussions like, your friends would block you, or they will start sending you voice messages. Because I did not have like voice parsing engine, so I could not like do anything of that. So I'm like, okay, sure, why not? But I do not use it that frequently now. So coming back to Nullcon and it being a security conference, how is it relevant? And I touched upon it a little bit. That most malicious malwares use accessibility services. All the banking Trojans, they just read whatever PIN you're having, they capture the PIN, they open apps, they do actions from your behalf, they enter the PIN, right? Spywares are becoming a big thing in Android. And accessibility services gives you everything that the user is doing. What is the chat that the person is reading? Whom is the person calling? So you can literally see anything that the person is doing on the screen. And that is why it becomes a really powerful tool for spywares as well. And these are all the names of the bots that have used it in the past, and it's still being used out there in the wild. And the thing that concerns me the most is that the only indicator for a user is you go to the settings and you see whether it's on or not. But I'm sure there can be a tweak around, just removing it from the settings as well. You do not just register it at all. And there would be cases people who would have researched it. I'm sure there can be cases where you just hide it from the settings itself. Then how would you know that some service is listening to you? And for example, this as well, like automate the WhatsApp chat. I gave it the permission. Now it just has the permission. I do not have any indicator on the screen saying that there is an app, looking at everything that you're doing. And that is kind of concerning to me because it is a lot of power across all the apps. So it's an excellent way to break sandboxing. Sandboxing, the concept does not hold because you are essentially operating as a user. So all the apps you can access as a user. So it's not related to just WhatsApp. You can just access any app. You go undetected because it is a system provided feature. So it's not malicious per se. You can build a spyware, you can commit financial fraud, and it's just left to your imagination what all you can do. Playing is the best way to learn, so that is why I shared this chat, and this is the theme I usually go along with. Although it was a very stupid and hilarious concept on why I started off with. But once you create these services, I think you're always in a very better position to understand the amount of power they hold and how can you possibly build defense or at least protect yourself. So yeah, keep playing, stay safe, and turn accessibility service off for the apps that you do not use. Back to automation, this is a bonus slide. So I think last month or something I was playing with, I was trying to understand how YubiKeys work, and I was playing with programmable microcontrollers, like how can you program and make them work like keyboard and mouse, much like the bad USBs, just that I wanted to create my own. So I flashed the Teensy microcontroller, I made it work like a keyboard, and it worked amazingly on Mac OS, but to my surprise, it also worked on Android. So it also supports USB-C, so you just need to open WhatsApp and plug in Teensy, and then Teensy will just keep sending the automated chats. So this is another way you can possibly automate if you're like really want to automate stuff. That is also an interesting thing. The processing might be an issue if you want to add ML to it though. Okay. And if you want to play around, you can scan this and you can download your app. It will be a small question. You need to give me your email and I'll send you the app's version. The app is not compatible on all architectures right now, but I can just build it and send it to you if you really want to try it out. Try reversing it, see the code, it's all free. Do not use it for malicious purposes. I trust this Nullcon, we won't be doing that. So yeah, get your free test app. That's pretty much it. That was my talk. Thank you so much for listening patiently and having like amazing questions. I loved speaking, yeah. Yeah, sure. This one? Yeah. So any other questions? Yep.
Like this will help only if we are not like we are away, we are not using our phone.
What will help?
Like
the window. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So actually, how it works is reading the UI, right? So if you're using, and this is like, I wanted to automate it, so I will open WhatsApp and then it's getting, but if your service is in background, there is some permission in Android through which you can launch. I think they built some controls on it, but you can actually launch activities. So if you open WhatsApp, like which intent to launch, you can launch it and then accessibility service is reading and then, they can read your messages. So you can try that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions? Yeah.
So we divided the scripts into 3 parts, right? Read, then type, and then send.
Yeah.
So where exactly? I mean, this read thing I couldn't find in the code. That like what exactly are we reading?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because we are just sending the messages, right? We are typing it down and sending.
Yes. So, like if we compare it with the HTML DOM structure, everything is a node, right? And the node has a text value. The same goes with Android. So accessibility service, the whole accessibility node info, an object which is like loaded with all the nodes and all the text types and all the information within the text, like the text, actual text, it goes to the background. So what we do is that we go to the node and then we read the text of the node. And the text is Aditi Bhatnagar, the name of the person, essentially. Yeah, so it just sends everything. Great. Cool, then if there are no other questions, thank you so much for coming and have an amazing lunch after that. Cool. Thanks, Nullcon. I'll just cut it off.
Thank you so much, ma'am.